Good evening and welcome to round 4 of the UK Sim Racing MX5 Championship, coming to you tonight from Lime Rock Park. The championship has swapped out the Australian countryside for the foothills of the Berkshire Mountains. Located in Connecticut, Lime Rock Park is a name which will be familiar to every iRacing driver. It's a staple of the early rookie series, but you can also find it in the IMSA series on the higher echelons of the iRacing career ladder. Its mix of a tricky final corner and a long back straight makes it a perfect place to hone your race craft. My name is Sebastian Boscher Williams. On production is Tyler, but right now I'm joined by Luke Daniels alongside me in the commentary box. Lovely to have you with us, Luke. It's your first broadcast here tonight. So we're at Lime Rock Park, a fairly sort of standard track. We've seen it in many different sort of iRacing series. Do you think we're going to be in for a good race tonight?
Yeah, I think we are. One great thing about Lime Rock is it seems like an easy track to drive, but it's always tricky to master. And there's always a little bit more time to be found here and there, and it ends up being pretty racy, especially with the draft that you get in these MX5 cars. They're a lot of fun to wheel around here, and I think we're in for a treat tonight.
I think we certainly are. You're right. You mentioned the draft. It's going to be so crucial down the back straight. Another thing that viewers, you might have noticed is the fact that it's a nighttime race. So visibility is going to be a little bit of a premium. So that might factor in to the race just a little bit. We've got about 1 and 3/4 minutes of practice left to go before we get in to qualifying. And then, of course, we have a 35-minute race. And why don't we just, as we end off practice, have a look at our championship standings? And we can see that at the top of the of the championship standings, I should say, Alex Williams is your leader with Murray Luca in second place, Ollie Pimley third, James Kersop in fourth place, Jeremy Scott fifth, Thompson, I should say, in sixth, Stephen Hilton seventh, James Parfitt in eighth, Darren Sharples in ninth, David Noonan in 10th, Sean Clark 11th, Ricky Pink in 12th, Thomas Barzak 13th, Andrew Jones in 14th, and Colin DM Craven in 15th place. The top two separated by only 6 points. Pimley as well still in the fight. Actually, really close standings there. Who is going to come out on top tonight? Well, I can tell you that the championship leader, Alex Williams, currently the leader in practice. So he's having a good turn of form around this track tonight. As we have a look at your practice standings now, as I mentioned, Alex Williams at the top of the timing stands, 1 minute 1.988. And Luke, we're just about to go into qualifying. How much confidence do you think that, Alex Williams will be feeling leading the practice session?
It's got to be a lot. On top of his great results last week, where he was also the fastest, seeing his name on the top of the leaderboard right now, that's got to be something to have in your back pocket. And I look forward to seeing what he can do in qualifying if he can maintain that nearly 3/10 advantage over second place.
It's a really interesting point. And we've got 3 laps of qualifying around here. So, a little bit more of an opportunity than you get in your standard iRacing sessions. How do you think the drivers are going to approach this? Do you think they're going to go out on their first lap, push 100%, or are they going to build themselves up and sort of slowly get a little bit quicker every lap that they complete?
I would imagine it's probably more of the latter. I know that's what I would do if I were out there on the track right now. We know that the tires in the Miata take a little bit of time to heat up, and your first lap is not really going to be your best anyway. So why not go ahead and just treat that as a banker lap and let the handling kind of come to you, and you can push a little harder in the second lap, and then your third lap should be just swinging for the fences, everything you've got to try and set the best possible time.
Well, qualifying now getting underway. 10 minutes to set your laps. Is everybody just on their warm-up laps, getting those tires in the window as we just start to build and get ready to go racing. Sorry, ready to go qualifying. I'm going to go on board with Alex Williams, your practice leader, as we just see on board. Now, unfortunately, I'm not getting the picture, so Alex Williams is out and about trying to do his qualifying lap. So at the moment, you can see at the bottom of your screen, set two green sectors in the final sector. So got the pace, but that's not going to count for anything. Got to obviously do the warm up lap. So I tell you what, Luke, why don't we? So MX5s, they're more of a rookie car, but they're really difficult to drive, aren't they? Sort of when you get into the higher levels that we are tonight. Do you think the drivers are going to be thinking about having to warm up their tyres? Are they going to have to be sort of thinking about how to prepare themselves for the laps, or do you think they'll just sort of do it like you do in rookies and just go out there and see how fast you could go?
Oh, I think they'll definitely be trying to get everything they can out of it. It's not exactly a, "Oh, as we see Alex just crashed. He's gonna have to reset." I guess he wasn't taking it easy on that first lap. He's going for everything he can get right from the get-go. But in a field this competitive and this tight, I mean, we saw the championship standings that close, only 6 points separating first and second, and from even sixth on back to 10th was all within 5 points. I gotta imagine these drivers are looking for every single advantage that they can, and they'll probably think about the tire strategies, the tire warming for qualifying, and how best to get that lap time, that extra little tenth or even hundredths, really. Because although this is a draft heavy car, you definitely want to be at the front of that draft train if you can.
A really interesting point. Yeah, I think this race is really going to be dominated by that draft. Currently, Murray Luca is your provisional pole sitter. I'm in at 3.193, about 2 seconds off the best pace that we saw in practice. So I think drivers building themselves up, unlike, as you mentioned, Luke, our championship leader, Alex Williams, he put it in the wall. So really detrimental to his qualifying attempt. He's now out and about once again, trying to improve, coming through the chicane. So this is his replay. What is going to happen to Alex Williams? So he's made it. So he's gone up the hill, and then that's a huge accident there for Alex Williams. And that's, surely got to dent his confidence, Luke. I was saying, earlier on, how much confidence will he take from practice? But I mean, that's all almost feels like it's been undone with that crash at the top of the hill.
Yeah, it definitely puts him in a tight spot for qualifying. That's an easy mistake to make for sure because as the car crests that hill, it gets very light and it tends to get very loose and oversteer, and it can easily get out of shape and send you into the wall exactly like he did. And if he doesn't get a good lap in here, he could be looking at an uphill battle starting a lot further back in the pack than he was hoping for based off of his practice times. So he'll need to definitely probably take it a little easy here. If he makes that mistake again, that could be his qualifying effort over with.
Yeah, feels like the championship leader under pressure at the moment. Murray Luca still your provisional pole sitter. Yomi Scott in second, only Pimley in third. So a good championship drive from him at the moment. So he'll be really pleased and almost hoping that Alex Williams doesn't improve. But Williams just building up that current pace at the moment. Feel like he's just about to set an even quicker lap time. He goes into sixth place. Does Alex Williams, a 1 minute 2.986. That sort of seems to me, Luke, like that's just a little bit of a banker lap. He sort of learned from his mistake a lap ago where he made that, he made that mistake and ended up in the wall. He's just sort of taking it easy. And this is the lap that we're going to see the true pace that we saw from him, like we did in practice.
Very likely. At the very least, he's got himself a decent time on the board, as we see that Murray Luker has now improved his best time and at a 1 minute 2.38 on the provisional poll. We have seen Alex Williams run faster than that in practice, so he definitely has the capabilities, got the speed in the car. It's just a question of, are those tires hot enough on this next lap to get it done?
And it will have to see and find out. Alex Williams, three personal best sectors, but not setting any purple sectors. Is he going to do what George Russell did in Hungary? No, and he crossed the line. So that is Alex Williams qualifying done. So I think we almost definitely have our qualifying grid now. 4 minutes left to go in the session, but we only have 2 laps of qualifying. I thought it was three, but it's only two. So I think at this point, every driver on the grid has completed their 2 laps, so nobody is going to be able to improve. So Murray Luca takes the pole position, Yomi Scott in second, only Pimley third, Andrew Jones in fourth, and Paul Lausted in fifth. So Alex Williams really was set, that was such a setback for himself with that accident. So we'll have to see how our championship leader can come through the field. So as qualifying sort of coming to an end now, Luke. So it's a standing start, and these masters not particularly powerful, but there's still quite a skill about sort of getting them away from the line quite cleanly and smoothly. Do you think that the drivers now are all going to be thinking about how to maximize sort of the start of the race, or do you think they're just going to be more focused on just surviving the first lap as a whole?
Well, I think you'll probably see a mix of attitudes there with a guy like Alex Williams who knows he has a lot of pace and is starting further back than he wants. He might try to get a good launch and possibly take it three wide, which is always a fun time on lap one. But I'd imagine in a 35-minute race, there's probably going to be several drivers that are willing to just take it easy on that initial start, make sure they get through the first lap cleanly, and then see where that sets them up to run their race from there.
We see
I
Dave. Oh, sorry. Go on, Luke.
Sorry, I don't really know exactly what type of driver Alex Williams is, but I know he's got to be kicking himself after that qualifying. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him driving a little angry, pushing a little hard, and making some bold, exciting moves on the first lap.
I think it's certainly going to be one to watch. You make a really good point. We're seeing at the moment pictures of Dave Noonan just continuing to lap away at the moment. His qualifying is done and dusted. He can not improve. He's done the maximum 2 laps, but Noonan just deciding just to go for a few more laps, gain a little bit more practice, just a little bit more experience. And I'd be quite interested to know how many of the drivers have actually driven Lime Rock at night. You don't tend to see any night races around Lime Rock. It's not sort of a fixture on the iRacing platform. Noonan actually setting a purple sector in sector 2. So Noonan has the pace. He'll be disappointed that he only managed to qualify in 8th place, but he's showing that he has the pace. And I wonder if that's the tyres just sort of coming up to temperature, or maybe Noonan just finding some extra speed out on track. I think he's going to be a very exciting driver to watch as we get in to the 35-minute race. Noonan just coming through the middle sector. Not a long lap around here. The track is only about 1.5 miles, or 2.4 kilometers if you're more inclined to the kilometers of measuring distance. And it's only got 9 corners, has Lime Rock in this configuration. We've got the chicane at the top of the hill, so a little bit trickier for the drivers. Might introduce another overtaking opportunity. You see actually at the moment Dave Noonan going through that very chicane onto the final corner, turn 9, the downhill as it's called, onto the Sam Posse straight. And Luke, turn 1, it's one of the most iconic, in my opinion, iconic corners around Lime Rock. It's so long and sort of challenging, but you can really sort of find extra grip around there, and it can be a really good overtaking opportunity.
It can be if you get it right. It's an iconic corner, but also the trickiest, in my opinion, on the entire circuit. And if you get just a little bit out of position, it's very easy to run wide, or you pick up the throttle a little too early. You run wide, and that hurts your exit if you can even stay on the track, and really can hurt you in the next sequence of corners. So it's critical to get that time right, but it's a weird line. You're braking and turning at the same time for an extended period of time and taking kind of a double apex in most cars. And I think that's gonna provide a lot of ways for different ideas to play out. Definitely to keep things interesting on the first lap as we start two by two, and we'll have to see who's the most bold, the bravest going into there on the first lap, especially on cold tires. The car handles different, that turn handles different, and like you've mentioned before, this is a night race. I've personally never seen that at Lime Rock before, and I know it's the same track. Sure, we've all driven this in rookies, but everything's a little bit different in the night. It's not only darker, but the track temps are cooler, and there's just something psychological about it. You can't see as far ahead, you can't see as much of the track, and I do think that affects your confidence a little bit and may make drivers a little more prone to making mistakes.
Really has sort of an endurance race Le Mans vibe at the moment. I really like the darkness. I think you're right. It's going to provide an extra challenge for the drivers. And almost luckily for them, we've got a 5 minute warm up session. So everybody can add the fuel back into the car, go out and get a feel of how the car feels on a little bit higher fuel, cold tires. Because in the standard, sort of iRacing official race, you end up going straight in from qualifying to the race, and you can sort of have almost mixed signals. Luca there through turn one, very wide. In fact, off the tracks, coming to a halt on the outside of the racing line. He's just going to have to hold his brakes and wait for a gap in the traffic. In fact, decides just to head back to the pits. Well, while we have a little bit of a warm up, just want to say thank you very much for joining us here tonight for the MX5 race. And if you want to stick around, give the Twitch channel a follow and maybe have a little bit of a chat in the stream chat. We are all having a look at it, so it'll be lovely to have a conversation with some of you watching at home. Thomas, though, at the moment, heading through turn 5 into the wall, almost, in fact, for the number 45. And you'll be wanting at this point to sort of iron out all these mistakes, won't you, Luke? This practice is surely got to be about learning how the car feels on high fuel and just sort of preparing yourself as much as you can for the race ahead.
Right, exactly. And as we saw the pulse hitter going off in turn one, that's exactly the type of mistake he cannot afford to make because you saw how long he had to sit there. And that was just with the cars spread out in practice. On lap one, or even lap two or three, really, when the tires still aren't fully up to temperature and the field is closely packed up together, that one mistake, which is very easy to make on a car that handles very differently, is going to be very, very costly. And you'll have to wait to watch the entire field go by. Talk about a long, long, painful time. It feels like an eternity, even though in reality it's only a few seconds. Now, one interesting thing I'm seeing right here on this 45 car, Thomas. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but with Thomas here, his rear brakes are glowing quite a lot. He must have his brake bias cranked back a little bit further back than most of the drivers I've seen tonight, really.
Almost berserk. You're right. His rear brake's really glowing. Of course, we have an open setup, so you can change all the parameters surrounding the car. It's not like a fixed setup. Like I keep on comparing it to the iRacing official series. But with that, it's a fixed setup. Here, you can change it. You can dial the car in to more of your liking. You can find a lot of pace actually through there. Thomas heads up into seventh place, only 800ths of a second off Sharples in sixth place. Alex Williams, though, showing the pace that maybe he ought to have had in qualifying. He's at the top of the timing stands at the moment. A 1 minute 2.412. Lausted in second. Pimley third. Pimley very consistent at the moment. I think it was third in qualifying, third in warm up, and that was very wide from the car behind our championship leader, Laustau. I do believe that was through one of my favorite, almost getting air actually on the exit of turn 5 onto the brakes for the chicane. Apex is early, does Alex Williams. It's almost like a double Apex right-hander, a little bit wide on the exit. 30 seconds left to go on the warm-up. Somebody asked, is James not racing tonight? Unfortunately, he isn't. He's doing another broadcast. James sends his apologies, and he'll hope to be back soon. Williams heads into turn one. A little bit of traffic on the inside. That will distract him and, could be a factor in the race. Actually, Williams going off the track, I think, affected there by those two cars coming out of the pits. 5 seconds left to go in this warm-up session before our 35-minute MX5 sprint race. The checkered flag flies, and Williams does his best rallycross impression. So, Luke, what do you expect from this race? Do you think we're going to see sort of a slipstream drive? Are we going to see, our top three sort of come away? What's your expectations for this one?
It's really hard to predict. You can see really anything on either end of the spectrum. I am inclined to think that we will see a lot more slipstreaming going on and a pack kind of forming together. Not necessarily a slingshot draft fest like you might see at a super speedway where you definitely don't want to be in the lead. I don't think it'll be quite to that extent, but we will see the draft allowing drivers to hang with each other for a lot longer than they maybe otherwise would. And so the pace differences that we're seeing in some drivers may not be that much of an important deciding factor.
Murray
So
Luca is on the pole position. Sorry to cut across you there. Yumi Scott second, Ollie Pimley third, Andrew Jones in fourth. Paul Laustow in 5th place, Alex Williams 6th, Thomas Bazark in 7th, Dave Noonan in 8th, Bevan Thomas 9th. And then we have Stephen Hilton, who didn't qualify, Darren Sharples as well. So those two are going to be ones to watch out for in this race. The revs build, the excitement builds as we get ready to go racing here at Lime Rock Park. The lights go out and we are underway. It's a great start from Lurker. Pimley getting away really well. Scott not really finding the traction that he would have liked. We head now down towards turn 1. It's Lurker in the lead. Pimley up to 2nd. He's got the inside line. Great start for Ollie Pimley. Yomi Scott in 3rd. Alex Williams already up to 4th place. He's up 2 places already down as we head into turn 3. All looks fairly calm and collected. Lurker pulling away. The gap is now almost 0.6 of a second. That's wide there. That's Pimley off the track. Pimley's losing out. He's going to lose a ton of positions here. Scott gets past. Williams gets past. Pimley having to almost get out of the way of Alex Williams. And now Andrew Jones is putting Pimley under pressure as we head towards turns 6 and 7. Pimley defending around the outside, but he's gone a little bit deep. Going to have to find some grip, and he does. So Pimley holds 4th place at the moment, but after that rocket ship start that Pimley had, he's losing places left, right, and centre. I think he's managed to stabilise at this point. Andrew Jones behind him, about 4/10 separating those two. Paul Laustow in 6th place. He's about 1.2 seconds off the back of this fight, which allows Pimley and Jones just to have a little bit of leeway when it comes to having a little bit of a scrap. But Lurker is your race leader. The gap is 0.6 of a second. Scott in 2nd,
Ooh.
Williams in 3rd. And that was a good start. It was really,
And there's
oh, as
Alex
we
Williams
see,
around.
Williams being spun around, the championship leader. He had a disastrous qualifying session and it's all gone wrong for him on lap 2. And was that Pimley making contact there, Luke? I didn't quite catch it. Did you see anything?
I don't think he got him. I think it was just the early start looseness. I saw him get a moment coming out of the first corner as he set back up to the left-hander, and then he got pretty loose again after that. He might have. Remember, we have an open setup league here. He might have a different setup for his driving style, and it could just be a little bit looser than he's wanting on high fuel load and cold tires. But unfortunately, he's just gone around. The silver lining, though, is that it appears he has no damage. He should be able to continue on if he can catch the draft ahead of him. He needs to clear his head, shake it off, and just start logging laps, and he might be able to catch them with the pace he's demonstrated in practice and qualifying.
Let's have a look at the replay. So this is Alex Williams. So we're heading through turns 1 and 2. He's on the exit now. He's got Pimley behind him. Actually, apologies to Ollie Pimley. Alex Williams losing it all by himself. But I think the rear tyre is just a little bit too hot for their own good. And Williams, a nice pirouette, you have to say, on the exit of the left-hander. But yeah, Williams, I mean, it's sort of a curious case of Alex Williams' race. He was so quick in practice, so quick in the warm-up, but where it counts, qualifying in the race, just not having the luck that he would have wanted and almost we would have expected, as he is our championship leader. Thomas Bazark, though, doing a good job. He's in 8th place. Bevan Thompson in 6th. Under pressure from Stephen Hilton as we head down towards turn 1. Hilton pulls out to the inside. They're going to go side by side. Hilton's going to have the inside line, but it's a long right-hander around this track, so you can go around the outside, but I take it back. Bevan Thomas just lets the position go. Hilton now up to 6th place, and Thomas Bazark also behind us. We just calm down, I think, now. 31 minutes to go in the race. Position sort of fizzling out, or the battles, I should say, fizzling out. Take it back. Murray under pressure from Yomi Scott. Almost 4/10 separating the top 2. A little bit wide there from Murray as we head into the braking zone of turns 7 and 8. Lurker just really, I almost feels, Luke, at the moment that he's just got a little bit, I know, almost more pace, more stability in the car.
It might appear that way, but it also looks like Scott's car is coming to him, and the handling seems to be to his liking. He gained almost 3/10 there that lap, as Murray pulls out the gap going into turn 1, that tricky right-hander we talked about. But he can't afford to relax really because Joey Scott is hot on his heels. And the battles may have fizzled out, but really it's more of a pause. I mean, we still have 30 minutes of racing to go, which is still quite a bit of time, and there's a lot of room for tires to heat up or overheat, for fuel to burn off, handling to change, and drivers to make their own adjustments behind the wheel in their driving style. So it's definitely going to be one to keep an eye on right here, the battle for first and second. And not far behind that, the battle for third and fourth between Ollie Pimley and Andrew Jones. It looks like it could be heating up a little bit. We
Yeah, it
ride
certainly
on
feels
board with
like
Jones here.
yeah, riding on board with Jones. Certainly feels like we are in a little bit of a pause at the moment, but as you say, it's the calm before the storm. Short shifting there actually from Andrew Jones as we cross the line to start race lap number 6. Thank you very much, Blue Moon 8319 for following as we head into turn 1 with Andrew Jones, just allowing the front end just to sort of gain grip into the corner. Jones sort of letting the car do what it wants. Jones almost feels like, Luke, that he's saving the tyres a little bit. He's almost just sort of not wanting to overdrive the tyres at the moment. Maybe the long game here we're seeing from Andrew Jones in 4th place.
He could be thinking far ahead like that. He could also be maybe trying to save fuel. I'm not sure, but I'd have seen him short shift a couple times. I'm not really sure if there's a strategy plan that he's thinking of here. We should have enough fuel for everyone to go the entire race. There should be no pit stops for fuel, but it is open setup, and you can put it in a different fuel amount if he maybe uh, short filled a little bit by accident. That's definitely an easy mistake to do. I've done that plenty of times. He might need to be in a position to save fuel. And fortunately, it's early in the race. I think most people are looking to relax, settle in, get that groove going, not really fighting too hard. So he could probably save that little bit of fuel he needs without losing too much time.
Jones in 4th place at the moment. Williams making up places. He went down the inside of Dave Noonan into turn 1. Noonan was very close to the back of Darren Sharples, and I feel like Williams is going to get past Sharples in just a few moments' time. Williams, after that spin earlier on, actually, at this very corner, now making his way up through the field. You can see on the timing tower, he's lost 4 places. Darren Sharples, on the other hand, up 3 from where he started, but I hazard to guess that that's going to be, he's only going to be up 2 places in a few moments' time. Williams sort of looming large in the rear view mirror as we head into turns 6, 7, and then through the left-hander of turn 8. Crucial to get the best run you possibly can as we now head down to this almost flat out right-hander. Turn 9 onto the back straight, so easy to pick up an off-track on the outside line. Williams just gaining in the slipstream. I think we're going to see exactly what we saw from Williams 1 lap ago. Actually, take it back. Sharples now has a look down the inside of Thomas Bazark. They're going to go side by side, but Williams is now going to capitalize on that. He's going to go all the way around the outside of turns 1 and 2. That will become the inside line for turn 3. If he can keep his nose in it, he can't. Chooses the outside line instead. Noonan now getting involved in this battle as well. It's turned in from a 3-way battle for a 4-way battle for 8th place, and Williams under pressure now from Dave Noonan behind him. They're side by side, the front two, Bazark and Sharples. And Bazark has to look down the inside. Can't find a way, though, through turn 5. Williams now, once again, looks like he's found a little bit more speed. Is he going to go down the inside into turn 7? No, it's Dave Noonan having a look, trying to distract Williams. Williams, though, doesn't succumb to that type of pressure. Williams on the back now tries to have a look at Darren Sharples. Not going to find a way. Oh, Alex Williams is off the track into the grass as we rejoin your race leader, Scott, now to the inside. So, Scott decides that he wants to lead this race now. Clean move to the inside of turn 1. Murray Luca is second. Ollie Pimley in third after that disastrous start, you have to say, for Ollie. He's only 4/10 now off second place. So he's found some pace once again. Alex Williams, though, still trying to get past Darren Sharples. Can't find a way, though, through turns 1, 2, and now 3. And, 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 so Alex Williams at the moment, Luke, he's got he's got the pace. What do you do? Do you try and sort of pull off these high risk moves to try and get you to the front of the pack, or do you play it a little bit cool and bide your time? We do still, of course, have 25 minutes of racing to go.
There is still a lot of racing left, but with Dave Noonan nipping at his heels, I don't think Alex Williams can really afford to be too calm, cool, and collected. He's gonna have to sometimes just lick the stamp and send it, make some moves to get up there because the longer he waits, the more ground he loses to that lead pack, but also the higher the chance he is that he gets passed by one of the drivers behind him. As you see Noonan trying to make a move on Sharples there, thinks better of it. But now Alex Williams has his sight set on Thomas Barzak, and he's going around the outside. That's always tricky here, but he gets it done. Oh, thought he got loose there for a minute, but he held on to it, and he is now in front. He went from a couple seconds behind that pack of cars all the way up to eighth place now, and he's got his sights set on Paul Lostow at 3.3 seconds ahead.
You're right. Let's have a look at actually Paul Lowstow and what has happened to him. This is on the exit of turn 8, just caught the grass he's done very well actually to keep it out of the barriers on the outside of the track. Lowstow though losing time, losing 2 places as well, and that's, as you rightly pointed out, Luke, really now putting him into the clutches of Alex Williams, although Thomas Bazart coming back at Alex Williams. They're side by side in the background as well. Sharples and Noonan trying to make up the ground on Sharples, which he was doing only a few laps ago before Alex Williams came through the field and sort of disrupted everybody's race. But Williams is now climbing up the order and allowing Bazart, Sharples and Noonan to regain and to resume their battle. Up in the lead though, Scott still leads, actually starting to extend his gap at the moment. He was some 1/100th of a second, in fact, quicker than than Luca on the last lap. So Yomi Scott finding the pace that Luca maybe had in qualifying, but not so far in the race. But a very tight, I should say, top 3, very tight bottom 4 as well. On board with Ollie Pimley at the moment, you can see the 2 race leaders up ahead of him. Pimley, is almost in the best seat in the house, Luke. He can see the top 2 fight. He can see that they're losing time. He can just stay behind, save a little bit of fuel, save a little bit of tyres, and just sort of pick up the pieces if there are any to be had.
Yeah, we normally wouldn't think of a MX5 race as involving a lot of strategy, but there actually is a little bit to consider. Over a 35-minute race, that is enough time for these tires to wear and fall off, and they'll still be fast. I mean, it won't be a huge difference. You're not going to go about 2 seconds a lap slower or anything, but you're not going to be setting your fastest laps at the end of the race. And so if he's oh, we got a pass here for between Bevan Thompson and the and Stephen Hillen.
Fairly textbook move to the inside. Bevan Thompson moving up into 5th place. Stephen Hilton in 6th. As we have a look at Darren Sharples, he's dropped off the back of Noonan. His Noonan and Sharples come together at some point. Well, here's the replay. So this is Sharples. So he's looking down the inside of turn 4, not going to find a way through. And Sharples, oh, he's going to hit the wall. Oh, so that's a huge moment there from Sharples. How has he managed to keep that car going in roughly the right direction? You see a wing mirror hanging off the outside of the car, but I would expect almost Sharples to have way more damage after quite heavy contact with the wall, Luke.
Yeah, that was a pretty sizable impact, and I'm pretty sure he's got some damage. I don't know if he's got a meatball flag or not, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him coming to pit road next lap. I'm actually kind of surprised he didn't go to pit road that lap because uh, there is a faster pair in this series, and he will lose the draft and any chance of that, but he'll be able to continue on and hopefully capitalize on somebody else's unfortunate mistakes.
I think another driver that's made an unfortunate mistake is Ollie Pimley. He was in 3rd and really close to the Scott Luca battle, but Pimley just falling a little bit adrift of that fight, out of that crucial slipstream window. There's a Rich Simonor in the Twitch chat saying that Andy Jones is not in 4th place. That's an expletive, I think we'll call it. But no, Andrew Jones very much in 4th place at the moment, lapping away very nicely. He's actually got the fastest lap of the race, has Andrew Jones. So Jones really finding the pace at the moment in this stage of the race. 20 minutes to go. Actually, Alex Williams has just set a fastest lap, even quicker lap, I should say. So Williams now regaining that fastest lap with Andrew Jones only 2 or so tenths behind Alex Williams, who we all thought was going to be the man to be on pole position to lead this race. That hasn't happened, but Pimley just almost sort of starting, Luke, do you think, to overdrive the car? He was a little bit wide through turn 7 and 8. Pimley just sort of almost seeing his chances of the race win sort of start to slip away, trying to compensate for that, and in the process, just losing even more time.
Yeah, I imagine he's trying different things and doing everything he can to try and catch those two guys, but it looks like they might be just pulling away from him and seeing the gap increasing. That lap he was 16 or 15 hundredths slower than second place. Not a huge difference, but it's a painful feeling watching those top two drivers just slowly inch away from you. However, we do see Alex Williams is laying down some wicked
Ooh,
quick
Pimley
laps.
off the
Oh,
track. Sorry to cut across you there, Luke. Thought we were going to see almost a direct carbon copy of Sharple's incident. Pimley, though, scoops it up before making any form of contact with the barrier. Ooh, while that was going on, Luca has now retaken the race lead from Yomi Scott. Yomi Scott in second now, half a second adrift, but Luca wide on the exit of turn 8. That's going to leave him vulnerable all the way through turn 9, down the back straight. This is a great chance for Yomi Scott to retake that race lead. He's only a 10th behind Luca. They haven't even crossed the line yet, and Scott looking on the inside. They're side by side. Scott's going to have the inside line. Luca's going to have to go all the way around the outside if he wants to keep first place. Luca almost concedes the spot, not really fighting it too much, goes a little bit wide. That would increase his heart rate a little bit from the cockpit, but Scott retakes the race lead. Luca in second, and actually Ollie Pimley now starting to gain up to the top two once again. Pimley, I still think, is a factor in this race, especially if there's any fireworks between our top two. Anyway, on to the brakes for turn 5. Luca very wide, though, on the exit of turn 5. That's not going to help him one bit in his chance for the race lead. This is Dave Noonan. What has happened to the 92 car? So through turns 4, oh, he's gone wide. Two cars, in fact, have gone wide, both showing some spectacular car control there. And Dave Noonan didn't really lose anything after that car behind him also making a mistake. As we have a look at Luca once again, second place, gaining on Scott. Don't think he's going to be able to gain enough down the back straight into turn 1. But, you know, Luke, if you were Murray Luca at the moment, what would you be doing? What would you be thinking? Do you want the race lead at this point? Or are you happy just to stick behind and sort of try and get the race lead sort of closer to the end of the race?
well, I would say that all depends on what kind of lap times he's running relative to Ollie Pimley. And I would possibly be content with just riding in second place right here at this point if we can pull away. Because as soon as they start battling again, that's going to allow Ollie Pimley to catch up. I mean, he gained almost half a second on them on that last pass for the lead. So they can't really afford to be fighting too much tooth and nail at this point with 17 minutes left in the race. Otherwise, that will allow Ollie Pimley to close the gap. And like you said, he will be definitely a factor. He's got the pace. Oh, that's a big jump from the 87 car. Luca hit that curb really hard, getting every last bit of racetrack he can. And I would be trying to lead if I could do it without losing too much time, because I'd like to lead.
Wouldn't we all? And you know, Luca and Scott both have the current pace to lead. Pimley just seems that, you know, on a lap where the top two aren't squabbling, he's a little bit slower. But as soon as those, you know, they start to squabble, they start to cost themselves time with defending it and overtaking each other. You know, Pimley is right back into this race. On the brakes for turn 5 once again, Luca almost taking flight actually on the exit of turn 5. You see Pimley in the background. He was a little bit wide actually on the exit of turn 4. So Pimley really pushing the limits of the track to try and keep up with the top two. Anyway, heading down towards turn 9.
You think?
Really.
Do you
Oh, go
think
on, Luke.
Pimley is pushing the limits, or is he maybe trying some different strategies here? If he watched the Spa 24 or the iRacing Spa 24 recently, uh, you think it's possible maybe he's trying to dip some tires in the grass, cool them off a little bit?
I mean, yeah, I've seen crazier things happen, you know, especially when you get to these sort of higher echelons of iRacing. You do see, you know, drivers sort of starting to use those exploits even more. I mean, we had the brake dragging escapades only a few months ago, and it seemed like every league was, or every race almost was having some form of brake dragging controversy. So yeah, maybe we are going to see that. Not quite sure. We'll have to find out. I mean, 50 minutes to go. I think, the tyres are going to start to get quite hot. They're going to start to overheat. So the drivers may be forced to do something a little bit out of the box to keep those under control. Luca through turn 7 and 8 once again to start another lap. This will be the 20th time around the track. Luca just doesn't seem to have the pace. Scott is really comfortable leading this race, and I don't think you could say the same for Yomi Scott you can't say the same for Luca when he was in the lead of the race, which is Simonor in the chat talking about these drivers need to win the race, as Luca still in second place, trying to hassle and hustle Yomi Scott for the race lead. As Alex Williams, while we've been talking, actually getting past Paul Lausted. So Williams now up into 7th place, only 7/10 off Stephen Hilton in 6th place. I'm going to ask you an impossible question, Luke. Where do you think Williams can get to in this race, knowing that we have 15 minutes of racing left to go?
Oh, that is a tough one. With the pace he's shown running the fast laps he's capable of, I do believe he'll be able to get around Stephen Hilton for 6th place. However, it's a bit of a stretch. Oh, here we see a replay with Andrew Jones. What happened to him?
Andrew Jones
Going
wide at
wide.
turn 4. And we've seen a lot of drivers do that so far, Luke. I mean, talk about it from a driver's perspective. How easy is it to end up on the grass on the exit of turn 4?
Well, I think the number of drivers we've seen make that exact mistake shows that that should be all the evidence you need, that it is definitely easy to do. That right-hander is one that you can just about take flat out, but the car's not really entirely happy there, and as the tires wear and get hot, maybe even too hot, that's probably something that's going to be a little bit easier and a little bit easier to do throughout the race.
So Stephen Hilton, I should say, down into 7th place. So Williams already dispatching the 46 car. Williams up to 6th place, 4 seconds separating Williams and Thompson. Can Williams make it into the top 5? Hilton, though, trying to defend his 7th place from Paul Lausted. Lausted on the grass, actually, on the entrance to turn 5. Hilton last lap was a 1 minute 3.92. That was 0.3 slower than Paul Lausted behind him. Lausted's got the pace. Actually, a little bit deep on the brakes was Hilton. Lausted really just got the pace and got the bit between his teeth, you have to say, at this point of the race. 12 minutes to go, coming onto the back straight in the slipstream. Does Hilton feel like going to the inside, trying to make that place up? I think he actually might be a little bit too far back. We're going to stamp on the brakes at around the two marker board on the outside, and Hilton just manages to hold on to that 7th place for now. But Luke, look at that gap already between Williams and Thompson. It's down to 3.6 seconds. So Williams, I think he's got a really good chance of being in the top 5 here tonight.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he took about a second out of that in just about 2 minutes. I mean, the rate he's going, he definitely will be he'll be right over Bevan Thompson before too much longer. And then from there, it's only 0.3 to Andrew Jones in 4th place. I mean, barring a mistake from the leaders, like as hard as first and second have been battling, could Yomi Scott or Murray Luker have an incident? If that happens, Alex Williams could be looking at a podium here. He might need a little bit of help from a mistake up ahead, but something just like this, as we see on board with Stephen Hilton, that's the exact type of move that could really help Alex Williams. However, that is Stephen Hilton, who's already down in 8th place, so he doesn't actually benefit from that just yet, but I think it's an easy mistake to make, and it's definitely something we can't rule out happening up front. Anything could happen at this point, really.
Chat's favourite driver, Andrew Jones, coming under pressure from Bevan Thompson. If you're an Alex Williams fan, you'll be hoping that Jones and Thompson continue to fight and allow Williams just to catch up even more. Jones at the moment through turn 5. I love the fact that they almost take flight every time they exit turn 5. What an amazing corner. What an amazing track, actually, Lime Rock is. On the brakes for turn 7. That's very wide from Andrew Jones. That's going to allow Thompson to go through there side by side. Thompson, though, drives all the way around the outside of Andrew Jones, and Bevan Thompson now up into that 4th place spot. I don't think Andrew Jones would necessarily like to see that one again. A mistake lost him the position. And if you are Richard Simonot in the Twitch chat, I think you won't be necessarily pleased to see that one. But this is the battle for the lead. Yomi Scott having to defend to the inside. Murray Luca trying to hustle and hassle him out of the way. Scott so far managing to cope with all that pressure that Luca is forcing upon him. Scott still in the lead. Luca just catching up. A tenth separates your top two. As we head through turn 5, over the little bit of a jump very wide there from Murray Luca. He really, you can tell by the body language of the car, wants this position. But Yomi Scott not cracking under pressure. And Luke, how difficult is that as a driver? You know, it seems like Luca is applying so much pressure to Scott, and Scott is just coping with it so supremely well.
Well, I guess it depends on the driver, but a lot of people, myself included, are definitely more prone to making mistakes when you see someone behind you who you know has been fast. I mean, that is the pole sitter in second right now, and it's definitely easy to maybe just try a little too hard, overdrive it a little bit, try to take maybe too much curb on entry or exit, as he almost did right there, taking every inch of the track available to Yomi Scott. But he's got to he's got to do everything he can now. I think with less than 10 minutes left to go, Murray Luca has decided it's go time. There is no room to be waiting around anymore. He's got over a 2-second gap to Ollie Pimley, so he can afford to lose a little bit of time trying to battle for the lead. And I think he believes he's capable of taking it from Yomi Scott.
Williams under pressure, in fact, from Andrew Jones. Sorry, Andrew Jones being passed by Alex Williams. Do apologise there. So Andrew Jones, after losing that position to Thompson, now losing a position, another position to Alex Williams. So Andrew Jones has unfortunately found reverse gear at this phase of the race. And hearing in my ear that Jones might have, in fact, a black flag. So are we going to see Jones pull into the pits? Yes, we are. So that has to be for a track limits violation. It's for not clearing a slowdown, in fact. Thank you very much, Tyler. So not clearing a slowdown has cost Andrew Jones a really good race result here so far. Yomi Scott, though, still in the lead of the overall race, but so much pressure being applied by Murray Luca in second through turns 4 up towards turn 5 now. Not an overtaking opportunity unless you're feeling particularly brave. Yomi Scott's going to defend the inside line, but now we get to where we have seen successful overtakes today, and where Luca thinks about making a move into turn 6 and 7, but decides better of it. But he's going to try and get a better exit out of turn 7 into turn 8, and now the long run down towards turn 1. It's flat out. It's all about the slipstream, all about the draft. 3/10 separates first and second. Luca really in the slipstream. Is he going to pull out to the inside? Does he want to lead this race with 7 minutes and 40 seconds to go? Scott just feels like he doesn't need to defend. Rightly so. In fact, Luca not mounting any sort of challenge into turn 1. I normally say it in commentary, you know, sometimes it feels like the drivers are almost defending fresh air, but Scott doing exactly what he needed to do, not defending when he needed to, not costing himself any more time as possible. But Scott a little bit wide, you have to say, through turn 4. And you know, Luke, at this point, what do you want to do if you are Murray? Do you want to get the lead, or do you want to wait until the last lap? Almost NASCAR style. Don't lead the race until when you really have to, if that makes sense.
I think if I'm Luca here, I'm trying to lead immediately, not waiting to the last lap. Because as we've seen, it is not easy to pass here. It's definitely tricky, and if you've got some tricks up your sleeve, you can hold that driver up a little bit behind you, as Yomi Scott has been doing to Murray Luca for about 15 minutes now. So I think you don't really have the luxury of waiting until the last lap NASCAR style. You got to send it. You got to make something happen early as soon as you can. And I think that's actually what we're seeing here. I don't believe Murray Luca is holding back at all. I think this is two drivers just going tooth and nail, driving every little, just trying to wring every little bit out of the car and driving to their absolute max right now. And it's definitely thrilling to watch. Meanwhile, back in 5th place, we see Alex Williams has really closed in the gap on Bevan Thompson. He's only 3/10 behind him right now. That could be a move coming here on this lap or the next one. He's nipping at his heels, and it's going to be easy to pressure him into a mistake, I think.
Williams has found so much pace. I mean, we knew that he had it. He showed it in practice and the warm-up, but, you know, as I alluded to earlier, just not finding it where he needs to, but Williams almost feels like a recovery drive from our championship leader, but he's doing a great job through turns 6 and 7. Actually, Bevan Thompson gets it all wrong, and that's a very easy pass for Alex Williams. He's up into fourth place. 6 seconds separates himself and a spot on the podium. He can see the leading three just ahead of him, but unfortunately for him, on the wrong side of the straight. Darren Sharples making a move, though. I think this is on Thomas Bizark through, actually, easily past Bizark before turn 9. Felt like maybe Thomas had a slowdown, something influencing him there. That was a very easy move if you are Darren Sharples. Luca and Scott still separated by less than half a second. This one almost undoubtedly is going to go down to the wire. So Luke, if you are Luca at the moment in second place, where do you think the best overtaking opportunity is? Where would you be sort of saving yourself and building yourself? Do you think it is into turn 1, or would you try maybe at a different point of the track?
I think if it's not turn 1, I'd maybe try something a little unexpected. Try it going into the chicane, or even coming out of the chicane. We've seen that move work for Alex Williams pretty well a couple times now. You just get your nose there and you basically force him wide, and then that forces him to be very, very tight going into the left-hander part of the chicane. And that could kill his momentum and be just what you need to get the better run down the straight and pull away as you head into turn 9.
Scott so wide on the exit of turn 2. Thought we were going to see the Mazda spear across to the inside, but managed to keep it all. And again, he's wide through turn 4. I've been saying, Yomi Scott just has been handling the pressure supremely well so far, but not really on this lap so far, you have to say. And Luca gained so much through turn 5. That's where we feel like, well, I feel that he's the faster of the pair. Rich Simonow has interestingly given Andrew Jones the task of finishing ahead of Thomas Bizark in the race. So thank you very much for that update in the Twitch chat. 6 seconds he's got to find in 3 minutes. Can be done, not impossible. And, Andrew's laps are pretty impressive at the moment. At 1 minute 3, he was 2 seconds quicker than Thomas last time ago. So it's definitely possible. So that's a little bit of a battle we can also have or keep our eye on. 31 laps completed so far. 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be Murray Luca? Regaining the race lead. He was your pole sitter. Or will it be Yomi Scott upsetting the pole sitter and taking the race win through the infield section, I should say. And Scott just starting to gain a little bit more time. The gap now is up to 0.8 of a second, Luke. It's one of the biggest gaps that we've seen between the two in quite some time. Do you think Scott's done enough? Do you think he sort of almost held off the pressure from Luca behind?
It would certainly look that way, but he can't afford to let up right now because Luca is kind of reeling him in. I think that gap opened up more from a mistake on Luca's part. As we see, it's down to under 3/4 of a second now, and he's going to be getting a little bit of a draft, and it's going to be under 7/10 going into turn 1, where Luca has looked pretty strong all night long. So this is definitely far from over with less than 3 minutes left in the race.
See at the bottom of your screen, we're tracking Jones and Bizark. Who is going to get the top 10 finish? Jones only gaining a second on that last lap. Actually, scrap for that, only 0.3 between the two drivers, so he needs to find a little bit more pace. Does Andrew Jones if he wants that 10th place. Murray Luca, though, through turn 4, looking so much quicker. I think that was a mistake from Yomi Scott. This battle is certainly on the cards once again. Through turn 5 we go. Luca has been quicker of the pair throughout this section. He's going to force Scott to the inside line. This is Luca's best opportunity we've had in several laps, but Luca's, he's going to run off the track. Thankfully, no grass to be found out there, but Scott's wide on the exit. They're going to be side by side. Scott somehow maintains to at least keep the car heading in the right direction. Luca, though, 1/10 behind. This is surely the best opportunity we've seen for a change in the race lead-in. It must be about 15 or so laps. Luca to the outside line. Scott's going to have to absolutely throw it down the inside. You mentioned, Luke, how good he was into turn 1. He needs the perfect turn 1. And you know what? He's done it. Late braking for Yomi Scott. He maintains the lead, I should say. Luca's still in second place. And, does that feel like that was Luca's last chance? A minute to go in the race. Is that his race done?
Oh, definitely not. As you see, Scott went deep in the brakes into turn one, but he didn't have quite as good of an exit as Luker did, and so Luker is once again right back in the hunt, nipping at his heels. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him try something again. He might not be so keen to let Scott go to the inside into the chicane. As you see him nipping on his heels, he's stepping out of line, thinks better of it, waits for another opportunity, but this could happen at any moment. This is definitely far from over. This won't be settled until we see them cross the checkered flag for sure. He's got him. He's right behind him now, and that's going to be giving him a bit of a draft through the final corner and onto the straight. So he might be able to try again. And Scott goes to the inside to defend again. He takes the white flag, and he's
What
going to try the same move once more.
white flag? One to go here at long Lime Rock, I should say. Luca in second, Scott in the lead. Who will come out against these two? They've both led the races at different points. Scott having to go defensive through turns three. Luca applying all of that pressure and more. It's almost bumper to bumper through turns four. We're on the long straight now up towards turn five. Luca not going to really find a way through, but he has been so quick through this section of the track, and you just see him gaining onto the back of the 027 car. This is his best opportunity. It's got to be, unless he wants to bring it out in a drag race towards the line. Luca's going to have to force Scott to the inside line, pinch him up to the apex. Luca just going to try and carry as much exit speed as possible. Scott a little bit wide actually on the exit of turn 8. It's certainly going to be a drag race to the line, but I think Scott might just have this. They're going to come around the final corner. To Scott's relief, he's going to see the checkered flag, and he is going to take the win. Round 4 of the UK Sim Racing MX5 Championship. Yomi Scott takes the win. Luca will have to settle for second place. Ollie Pimley in third. He completes your podium places. Alex Williams, great recovery drive from him. He'll finish in fourth place after that spin at turn 3 earlier on. Bevan Thompson fifth. Paul Lostow in sixth. Stephen Hilton will come across the line in seventh place. David Noonan will be in eighth. Darren Sharple's ninth. Thomas Bazark 10th. And Andrew Jones, in fact, he's not past Thomas, or at least not at the moment, but the gap only 1.3 seconds. Jones has had a stellar final few laps, but have to get the sense that his team manager might be a little bit upset with him there. But great race by everybody involved. Remarkably clean, you have to say, Luke, and what an enthralling race that was to watch.
That was just brilliant to watch that battle between Yomi Scott and Murray Luker, but also really the recovery drive from Alex Williams, who went from starting sixth to having trouble in the first lap, losing the draft, and then catching back up to the pack, passing them, catching the next pack, and then finishing fourth out of it. It's definitely going to help him salvage some of the points loss he's going to have. He might still hold on to the championship lead after this race. The most unfortunate uh, victim of this race, or the most unfortunate outcome, is poor Andrew Jones, which we have just received word from the Twitch chat is probably fired because he didn't catch Thomas Barzak. But we'll see if he'll if he'll be allowed to come back, or if Richard Simnor is not going to let him around anymore.
Luke, do you want to take us through your race results?
Sure. We have Yomi Scott, the winner, and Murray Luker behind him, only 3/10 off that brilliant battle, and nearly 5 seconds back is Ollie Pimley, sorry. Alex Williams recovering to fourth. Got that gap down from over 6 seconds to just less than 4.5 on Pimley. That's definitely a great job from him. And then Bevan Thompson in fifth, followed by Paul Laustow in sixth, Stephen Hilton in seventh, Dave Noonan in eighth, Darren Sharples in ninth, Thomas Barzak in 10th, and finally, Andrew Jones on the last of the lead lap in 11th.
Andrew Jones, our only driver to actually come into the pit. So, yeah, Jones, I mean, what could have been? He was running in fourth place for so long and unfortunately didn't clear a slowdown in time. That really cost him, almost on the fringes of a top 10 finish, but that unfortunately was not to be. I mean, I said earlier in commentary that was a really enthralling race. I mean, MX5s, they always provide, don't they, Luke?
They do. You wouldn't have expected this with only 11 cars here, but definitely a case of quality over quantity. And we saw some great driving, some great racing from everyone here. And that's just what the Miatas are famous for. I mean, they're tight, closely matched, even in an open setup league. Aerodynamics don't really matter. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if being behind somebody actually helps you, because these cars probably make lift instead of downforce, and so that might give you just a teensy bit more grip in the corners, which isn't a lot, but in these cars, every tiny little difference matters because they are so close, and that allows the great racing that we were able to see tonight.
Great racing indeed. Well, thank you very much to everybody for joining us here for round four of the UK Sim Racing MX5 League. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be back. This time at Road Atlanta, the short layout. That will be another great race. I'm sure you won't want to miss that. But from myself, Sebastian Vosch-Willens, from Tyler on production, and of course Luke Daniels in the commentary box alongside me. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be back very soon to bring you some more racing action.